Welcome to Sermons from the Cave. My name is Dean, and we're back after about a 2-month break. We're back to this quaint, humble little granite cave we found up in the mountains. It's getting cold again. I think we've went a full year now, full circle, because there is snow. It's patchy, but there is little spots of snow still up here on the ground in the shade from over the weekend. It snowed here. So it's getting cold. It's colder out here. Not complaining. I'm just stating a fact. The last time we left off, God had performed an incredible miracle. He actually led the people, the whole nation of Israel, out of Egypt, and they were probably numbering about 2 million people, maybe more, maybe less. He led them out on the trade route from Egypt, because Moses would have known this route that would have went into Midian, which is in Saudi Arabia. It's across the Sinai Peninsula, and it's in Saudi Arabia. And Moses would have known this trade route, because he'd been over it. That's where he was raised for the first 4 years before God told him to go back and be a spokesperson for him to tell Pharaoh to let the people go. So as the people are leaving Egypt, and we went over this already in the last 3 videos, but basically God led them into a box canyon, a large box canyon at Nuevo Beach, which is on the east side of the Sinai Peninsula. And this is where I believe, and there's other people that believe, is where God parted the Red Sea, the Yam Suf. Many of us believe, we take the Bible literally, and we believe that God means what he says and he keeps his promises. A lot of people think that it was a shallow sea of reeds. It's been translated that way, Yam Suf, but really it is the Red Sea. And after getting across the Red Sea, it only took 3 days for the Israelites to get really thirsty, and I can understand that. This is a huge, figure a large group of people, 2 million people. You're traveling with a huge group. You're really going to need some resources to be able to handle it, to at least to make things comfortable, at least to have water to drink, maybe some tents or some sleeping apparel, some sleeping blankets and such like that. And about 3 days into the wilderness, the Israelites complained to Moses that they're thirsty, and God leads them to a spring at Meribah, and it's bitter. Let me see if I can find this. It's in chapter 15 of the book of Exodus, and it says, "So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur, and they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. Then they came to Marah, Marah, and they could not drink from the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of the place was called Marah, which means bitter. And the people complained against Moses, saying, what should we have to drink? You brought us out here in the wilderness to die." So God showed Moses a tree, and when he cast it in the waters, it made it sweet. So God's providing once again. But I want you to keep in mind, it doesn't take very long for us to lose our focus, to get our focus off of God and the things that he does for us. We're very quick to go back into our pity party. It's amazing to me how quick we can do this. So the next big hurdle, after God provides water for this huge entourage of Israelites, they're hungry. And God decides to test the faith of these people. And he provides them with bread from heaven, manna, which means what is it? That's what manna means. It means what is it? Because they were collecting this film that would fall like dew in the nighttime, in the night, and it would fall on the ground. They would collect it in the morning, and it was like it had the consistency of finely ground flour, like coriander seed, and they would collect it and they could make bread from it. So God was providing by just giving them free bread to eat with two simple rules. Number one is you can't collect more than you can eat, and can't store it. That's rule number one. You can't collect more than you can eat in a day, and you can't store it. And number two was you were not to go out on the seventh day and collect any. And now, God hasn't given Moses the Ten Commandments yet. We're still a little ways away from that. But you can see God preparing their hearts to give them some object lessons, to start thinking, for them to start thinking in the right direction, at least the leaders, at least Moses. We look back on this in retrospect, having read these stories over and over and over again, and it's very clear that God was testing these people. Number one is they collected more. They tried to collect more than they could, and it would turn to worms. And they went out looking for it on the Sabbath day. They were to work. They were to gather at 6 days, and then on the seventh day they were to rest. And it was to be a day of rest. If you remember, that's what God did, right? He worked. He created the earth and people and everything on it in 6 days, and then he sanctified and blessed the seventh day, set it apart, made it holy, and then set up these laws. So they wander around the desert for a while, and they get thirsty again, and listen to this if this doesn't sound familiar. This is chapter 17 of the book of Exodus. It says this: Then all the congregation of the children of Israel set out on their journey from the wilderness of Sin, according to the commandment of the Lord, and camped in Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore, the people contended with Moses and said, "Give us water so that we may drink." So Moses said to them, "Why do you contend with me? Why do you tempt the Lord?" And the people thirsted there for water. And the people complained against Moses and said, "Why is it that you've brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" So the story goes that Moses intercedes for them once again. He prays to God, he talks to God, and God reveals, tells him that he'll show him this rock, and that I'll stand before you there on the rock in Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come from it, that the people may drink. And sure enough, that's what he did. And once again, God providing the rock. And what's really fascinating to me about all this is not really the historical point, but how the prophetic side of it, how it all points to Jesus. And we're going to see later on as God starts giving Moses blueprints for the tabernacle and the furniture that's to be placed in the tabernacle, that a lot of those pieces of furniture will be prophetic of Jesus Christ, of our high priest, our need for a high priest to intercede for us between God and man, and the bread, the showbread on the table, and also the mercy seat on the ark. I mean, just everything is prophetic of Jesus Christ. And here out in the wilderness, we have them complaining about water. And do you remember what Jesus said to the woman in Samaria? He said, "If only you'd have asked me, I would have given you living water. You drink from this well and you're going to thirst again, but I'm the one that can give you living water." And also Jesus once said that he was the bread of life. He was born in Bethlehem, the house of bread. These are no coincidences. I mean, God is planning this all through history to be just a constant support and verification of his plan for the Lamb of God that would one day come and take away the sin of the world. From Sermons on the Cave, Shalom Mishpachah.